How can developing countries afford financing social protection programs in the light of their chronic budget deficit programs and mounting debts, both domestic and international? And would the existence of a social protection program could have averted the eruption of the uprisings in the Arab Spring countries?
Well, we're going to answer one by one, or we're going to take some?
Please answer. I think that's the best way for now. Thank you.
We believe that the first important thing is to have political will, because when you have political will and you understand that this is important not only on the social aspect, on the ethical aspect, or human rights aspect, but also it has economic positive economic consequences, you make the space for the priority. So we believe that there is a group of countries, of course the least developed countries, where it might need much more international finance contribution. But there's a lot of countries who could reassign allocation of resources to some specific programs in terms of their own, because that's what we say, it's a floor. It's a sort of an entry point, and you start gradually, according to your financial capacities and your human resources capacity and so on, you can develop your own floor within your own priorities. This is not a recipe that we'll try to impose to any country. So every country some could start with one of these areas, on pensions or on child support or on health programs and so on. And there has been studies made by ILO, but many other agencies, WHO, but also IMF. We have been working very strongly with IMF, and there will be in the future some presentation of these studies, how much it would cost to a country to include many of these different initiatives. And we have in the report you will find that, for example, there is an estimated annual cost of universal old age pension in selected low and middle income countries, and you will see that it depends on the country and its own characteristic, the number of people, aged people and so on. It could cost between less than 0.5% of the GDP into 1 to 1.5% of the GDP, depending on the characteristic. As a whole, if we think on a more inclusive response as a social protection floor, it's estimated between 2 or 4% of the GDP to really be able to, I would say, diminish poverty and to provide a lot of access to all these different services. But it will depend on every country how they start. They will think which is more important and how they put. Well, that's one thing. Second thing is, of course, in many countries, they will need to analyze all the different how would I say, sources of finance. For example, in some countries, if they make some reform on the tax reform, or if they started, what's the word, fighting against evasion of taxes, or having some taxes, because some countries have very, very low taxes system. Just with that, you will have the money to implement it. So there are a lot of different possible financial tools and instruments, and we believe it is possible, and in the book you will find a lot of examples how it have been done, because what we provide here also is examples. We're not talking about social protection in a rich country. We have a lot of, in Latin America is a very good example, but also we have seen examples in South Africa, in Bangladesh, in India, in China, in many other countries where you have a lot of people who I mean, with population living in poverty, but they have been given the importance to this, and they have created the fiscal space. Your second part of your question, would it have been prevented? I think that development and ensuring people's rights is fundamental, key to diminish, I would say, social instability and political instability. If you ensure people's rights, you will have a more peaceful and stable country. But probably, and one of the important, how could I say it, reasons that you could see of the Arab Spring is, of course, social justice. But it's not only social justice. It's also about political rights, human rights, and so on. But But social justice is essentially one very important issue. One of the things that you see when you go there, I just went for the third time to Egypt a week ago, it's of course the need of continuing growing the economy, producing more jobs, particularly for young people who youth employment is very low, not only there but all over the world. So I think it is an important element, but not the only one, of course. But it would be a very important element. People are more satisfied if they have the dignity they deserve, of course.
Did you have anything to add?